Now, to the phones, and we'll go to Los Angeles next and Biff. Biff, welcome to the program. Hi.
Hi.
What's up?
Herman Cain. I know him well. I know him personally. I was treasurer when he was the elected chairman of the board. You go through the chairs there. 2 years later, when I was chairman of the board, our exec quit, and we hired Herman to run the association at that time. Couldn't be a finer man. Couldn't have a lovelier wife. 3 of the women, the first 3 that came out, I know personally from being a director and a chairman of the association. The first 2 worked in the Washington offices and were pretty straight-up gals. They took exception, I guess, to whatever it was so minor, it was never brought to the attention of even the officers, let alone the executive committee or the board. The third one was in the Chicago office of the Educational Foundation. And by the way, the association, only about 20% of its activity is lobbying. We do so many other things for the 14 million people that work in our industry. But the Chicago office gal, I met her when I was taking a tour of all of the, meeting all of the staff there and taking a tour. I was in her cubicle talking with her. She seemed very nice. And then she said to me, "You're handsome. We ought to go out to dinner." And
She
I
did.
said, "You're wrong on both." Yep. I said, "You're wrong on both counts. We're not going to dinner, and I'm not handsome."
Now you're being both modest and brushing her off here. Now then, what happened?
Well, then I reported the exec of the association, who said they were having a lot of trouble with her, and she was terminated. I don't think she lasted more than a few months there.
There's this now, Biff. Let me stop you right there. First of all, where were you 3 weeks ago when this bimbo eruption was happening?
Well, I was right here in Los Angeles fielding calls from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post.
And when you told them this story, what did they do?
They failed to respond to any of it, except the Wall Street Journal did print something of a more positive part of
Did you know this?
Did
you know this gal, Sharon Bialik?
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
So she's the one who hit on you and tried to get you to go to dinner because you were handsome.
Yeah, yeah. I was just stunned. I mean, I've been married for 30 years, not as long as Herman, but our wives were friends. We traveled together, to Japan for the Japan Food Service Association and everything else. And anyway, she was terminated before Herman ever met her, before he came on as the exec. And so
let me ask you this, Biff. Did Herman Cain have the reputation, and you're in a work situation, people have different reputations. Did he have the reputation as a womanizer, or in any way a guy who would flirt with or harass or in any way interact on any kind of a sexual level with the female employees?
I have to tell you that it's totally, totally unnecessary to even go there. And I give you one example of why Herman didn't have that reputation, why he wasn't that kind of guy. We hired him because he was such a great speaker, and we needed him to go out and speak to restaurateurs all over the country. We also hired him because our AT stuff was in shambles, and that was his background. He was phenomenal at it.
Right.
And by the way, we paid him substantially less than what was paid to other execs and other associations at that time. A fraction of what they were paying Frank Valenti and some of the others back there. And he was still quite comfortable with that. We granted him a few perks instead of the huge salaries that those guys were making. And he did go out and speak. And after every one of those engagements, I can remember, I was down in Nebraska. I was speaking to 1,000 people at a restaurant dinner. And afterwards, there are always people hanging around asking questions, which we encourage them to do. And there's always a couple of good-looking girls that'll say, "Gosh, I have this problem at the restaurant. I need to talk to you in private about it. Can we go up to my room?" And the answer is always, "No, we can talk about it at the bar." And, you don't have to. He never had to hassle anybody. He never had to harass anybody. If he was a womanizer, we have our own set of groupies. And
interesting.
Just wasn't. And
interesting.
So the characterization of me is so unconscionably unfriendly and untrue.
Hey, Biff, I appreciate your call. Wish I would have gotten it 3 weeks ago. Could have changed the course of history.